Good Thursday morning to you. This is Pastor Mark Pierce with Church Requel, back with our Thursday morning Bible study. I wanted to take one more look at this issue of the adultery passage that we see in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. I had not intended to do this, and then as I gave it a little bit more thought, I thought, well, as a pastor, I just can't leave this. I have to address this to you a little bit more. So let's once more take our Bibles and turn to Matthew chapter 5, and we'll read the scripture, and then we will come back with some practical advice. Matthew chapter 5, and the passage begins in verse 27, and we'll read through 30. If I can do it and not lose my place with the wind. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body goes into hell. What Jesus, I think, is getting at here is just how important this issue is of lust and how much it's connected with adultery and how we should just completely avoid it if it's at all possible. In fact, not even if it's possible. We have to find a way to make it possible. Jesus tells us that it would be better for us to lose our eye or to lose our hand than for us to go into hell by committing this sin of adultery. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, there is this idea of exaggerated speech. On the one hand, he's not telling us that we should mutilate ourselves, but he is, I think, very serious about this issue of adultery and this very, very serious about this issue of lustful intent. So, speaking very practically to you this morning as a pastor, what is it that we can do to make sure that we keep the road closed in our mind, that we don't go where we should not be going in our thinking? How do we avoid the lustful intent? Well, first of all, I think it's important that you think about this ahead of time, that you be prepared for it, that this not be something that you just allow to happen. There are going to be temptations, and you are going to experience these temptations. And when you do, one of the things that I think that's really important for us is to sit back and later on analyze whether we failed the temptation or succeeded in it. We need to sit back and say, now what is it that worked for me? And what is it that didn't work for me? Paul tells us in Corinthians that in every case where we're tempted, that God will not tempt us beyond what we can bear, but will provide a way out. So later on, as we have a chance to think about it, I think it's important that we go back to that time of temptation and say, where was the way out? Did I see it? Was it there? And did I take advantage of it? What could I have done? Sometimes the thing that we can do is the only thing that we can do, and that's what we see in the Genesis account of Joseph, and that is just flee, just get away. But honestly, I think for most of us today, it's a matter of a little bit of preventative medicine goes a long way. A lot of times, it's just a matter of not going where we shouldn't be going. If we know that there is a person or persons, or if there is a place where we go that we know we're going to be tempted and that we might be tempted more than what we can handle, more than what's realistic for us to be able to handle, then we need to decide ahead of time just not to go there. There might be people that you simply have to stop associating with for some period of time. There might be places that you just don't go. And that, by the way, also means the internet. it very well may be that you simply have to restrict yourself to never being on the internet unless you are with someone, to make sure that your wife is in the room with you, or that someone else is in the room with you, that you would not do something privately that you wouldn't be proud of if somebody else saw you. In other words, I think that part of this is a matter of being very, very serious to the extent of losing our hand or losing our eye. What is it that I am willing to sacrifice to make sure that I keep my mind pure? If you travel, and there was a time in my life where I did quite a bit of traveling, I followed some protocols. First of all, I try very hard not to travel by myself. I like to have my wife with me when I travel. But if I am in a position where I have to travel by myself, I do a couple of things pretty religiously. First of all, whenever I get to the new place, I always call my wife. I describe the room to her. I let her know where I'm at. I, in my mind, invite her to be there with me. In almost every case, even before I have called her, but certainly before the second call is finished, I will make a second phone call, either first or second, either before or right after I talk to my wife, and that is to disconnect the television in my hotel room, because so many rooms today are filled with the opportunity for pornography. And I know that I will be strong when I first get into that hotel room, but I probably won't be strong later on in the evening. So it's a matter of thinking ahead of time. Having some accountability partners, having someone that you can talk regularly and honestly and openly with about this. How serious are you going to be? Are you going to be as serious as Jesus says here? As serious as your right eye? Or as serious as your right hand? There's some serious thinking that has to go into this preventative side of making sure that we don't look lustfully upon someone other than our wife. Thanks for listening to me today, and I look forward to talking to you again on Friday morning.